you could tell us a bit about the action that happened today.
So, do you want my name and stuff, or no? Today, myself, Patrisse Cullors, Damon Turner from Black Lives Matter, and students from NUS Black Students Campaign went out in front of the G4S building, which is a private agency that exists here in the UK that specifically has detention centers. It also exists in the United States and specifically has private prisons mostly in the southern states of America, and exists also in Palestine. We chanted, we took over the building for about 5-10 minutes, and then made a decision to take over to block the road, in which we were able to block both sides of the road. We chanted Black Lives Matter, we chanted Who Killed Jimmy Mabenga, we chanted G4S, shut it down. And this was an act of solidarity with the Ferguson Solidarity Tour that I've been on this last week and that Damon Turner will be finishing off, and specifically a call out to build greater solidarity across the country and across the globe for the Black Lives Matter movement.
It's a very cliche question, but why do Black Lives Matter?
Black Lives Matter because in this current state and historically, Black lives haven't mattered. And there's a moment in our history right now where we have to declare that Black lives do matter. We have to declare that our lives matter because everybody else will ensure us that our lives don't matter. So part of Black Lives Mattering is making sure that not only the world understands that, but also Black people understand that our lives matter, and that we have to fight and we have to take risks like we did today in order for us to both be reminded, but for the rest of the globe to be reminded that our lives matter.
So what inspired you to do an action today in terms of like blocking the road?
I've been speaking a lot, and it gets really boring to just talk. And at every single talk that I've been at, I requested the team to shut some shit down in their city, in their country. And I was really excited that this team out here in the UK made that decision. And I wanted to be a part of that. At the beginning of January, I was in Palestine with a group of Black Lives Matter folks. And one of the requests from the Palestinian tour guides was if we could do a flash mob and occupy Palestine, and we made that choice. And so for me, as long as I'm in someone's country and as long as Black lives don't matter to the rest of the world and the government, we have to shut some shit down.
And is this an act? Is this a type of form of action that has been employed in the States? Like, what impact has come out of shutting shit down, as you put it?
Yeah, we've been shutting shit down since August 9th, both in Ferguson but throughout the entire country, including where I live in Los Angeles, where we were able to occupy LAPD's headquarters for 18 days. And this is a common practice of shutting shit down. It's our form of boycott. What we've been able to do is a few things: disrupt people's lives, because our lives are often disrupted by everybody else's racism and every other government's racism. So we disrupt people's lives for 20, 30 minutes, a couple hours. The other thing that we've been able to do is alert elected officials. We've been able to get into halls of power because we've been shutting shit down. And I think the last thing we'd be able to do is really drop economies. On Black Friday, we were able to drop the revenue by 11% by shutting shit down across the country. And so that is huge. That's important. And some will say that our actions are aimless, but we say that the direct action is exactly that. It's direct.
And in terms of the tour itself, what made you decide to come? Because I know it was a very last-minute decision to come to the UK. What compelled you to come to the UK?
I was asked to come to the UK after Reverend Sekou became ill just a few hours before his flight, and I got called up, and my friend Merv Mercano said, "Patrisse, can you make it to the UK for this tour?" And I said, "Is anyone else make it?" He said no, but the tour has already been set. And I was like, well, I can't let the UK down. Of course, the Black Lives Matter movement is going to show up for this tour. And the other piece is that, racist people, the racist right spreads their ideology across the UK and across the US and across the globe. We have to spread our ideology as well. And this was part of my work here, was to spread the ideology of shutting shit down, spread the ideology of making sure that we take risks to create greater gains for our present, but also our future.
And what are the key things that you've learned from your tour? Because you're obviously leaving today. So I mean, the similarities, the differences.
The biggest thing is that Britain has done a really good job is painting itself as the humanitarian, as a country that is not racist, that the country that plays fairly, and that's false. That's very false. And so my time here I've spent with families who've been directly impacted by state violence, people who've been deported by this government, people who've been murdered by this government. And I think what's been really clear is that this message of Black Lives Matter is such an important touchstone to having a conversation in every single country where Black people exist, and every single country where there's an oppressed people. And I think some of the similarities is that both of our countries are invested in racism, and I think some of the differences are there's some sort of technical differences around what apparatuses you have set up specifically for law enforcement accountability. But at the end of the day, it's sort of the same thing is dealt to families, which is absolute no accountability.
So what's next for the Black Lives Matter movement in the UK, the US, and for yourself?
My hope is that we keep building. My hope is that we figure out some joint campaign together, and back home, I go back home and continue to build the movement.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You got that, yeah?
That was great.
That was good. Good job.
Nice.
Thanks a lot.
Questions. Lord have mercy. Wait to get home to the sun.